Hey everyone, welcome back to the Inside Podcast. I'm your host Seth, the CMO at Syte, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Mikey, the CEO at Syte. You've probably heard this saying before by Theodore Herzl, comparison is the thief of joy. And today's episode, we're either going to make you really happy or really sad because we're diving into the world of benchmarking. We'll be exploring industry standards on how your e-commerce store measures up and whether you're hitting the mark or falling behind. So stay tuned to find out if you're in the green or in the red and you need to make some real changes. Welcome to the show, Mikey.
Wow, what? Hopefully, we don't steal people's joy. What a great opening, Seth.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about it. I was like, how do you title this episode on benchmarking? And I was like, whenever I compare myself to anyone, I'm always either really happy because I'm far ahead or I'm really sad because I've got some catching up to do. So I think today's episode diving into what the industry benchmarks are and where, and as an e-commerce store owner or as an e-commerce marketer, you can go and say, okay, my store is here, then here it is. And I think in this episode as well, because even when we were doing research for this episode, there weren't really any articles or any pieces of content out there that like had what we're going to cover today. So I think this is going to be a really important episode and a really helpful episode from a condensed context or a condensed context perspective, because you're not going to have to go everywhere for this. And then we'll turn this episode into a few blog articles, and maybe we'll do one big one, and then you can read that too, and in the newsletter
Amazing.
and wherever else we repurpose this content. But it's all going to be condensed and to the point, so you can make some actionable.
And
So
that's
you can
and
take
that's
some
a
action.
great 3 minute opening into our condensed episode. But let's go. But quickly before we get into the condensed part, to your point, there's no journal out there which tells people are they doing well or badly. What is the conversion rate that you should be hitting? What is the ROAS that you should be hitting? And today we're using our our real live data from clients, obviously without mentioning any clients, but we have a large sample set. It's not tens of thousands, but it's a large sample set. But we know what good looks like. So let's go, Sedela. 3.5 minutes.
Fantastic,
Let's give a
great.
condensed episode.
I'll cut it a little bit short there. I think to kick things off with one of the most important, your conversion rate. What should your overall store's conversion rate be? Yeah, what's that figure, Mikey?
Amazing. Okay, so quick answer 1%. So let me expand on that. Now, if you read the internet or search the internet and you're a South African store, you're going to get different numbers. So the global benchmark for conversion rate, and this is any e-commerce store, obviously there's different industries and so on, but any e-commerce store that is not an inherently repeatable sales store. So if you're a contact lens store, the example I always give, your conversion rate should and is much higher. But if you're selling a thing likely once or maybe twice to customers, and you're in a developed digital market, so let's say the US or Europe, you should be getting 2%. Locally in South Africa, you should be getting 1%. A lot of stores, and I'd say probably most stores in South Africa, are between the 0.5% and 1% conversion rate mark. If you're better than that, you're better than average. If you're lower than that, you got some work to do.
Yeah. And then just some actionable tips. How can you increase your conversion rate? Obviously, as I said in previous episodes, go and install a secret tracking. Or it's not really a secret. You can go in the back end and see it, but go install a tracking software like Hotjar, or what's another one there, Mikey? If someone doesn't like
Yeah,
Hotjar. It's my
clarity.
favorite.
There's a bunch of them out there. I think just
Yeah.
one other caveat before we talk about solutions. I think maybe we'll give the cold hard facts first, and we can maybe unpack solutions later or
Yeah.
another episode. But
Sure.
I think the one thing to keep in mind is the thing which throws these benchmarks out a lot is industries, and I'll give you like a few industries that are important to think about if you're in and so on, and just to calm your nerves. That if you're in a high ticket price industry, so if you're selling stuff for 50K plus, that is likely to impact your conversion rate. So the higher your ticket price, the more risk there is for the user, and therefore inherently the conversion rate typically drops. Also, there are some industries which are terribly performing industries online from a conversion rate perspective, furniture being a very common one. So any industry which the user is used to coming in store and having some safety net of viewing the product up close and personal. So let's say a couch and that. Those industries tend to be on the lower end, and usually those types of industries will bucket in the 0.1%. So about 10x worse than the average e-commerce store. So if you're there and you just had a heart attack 2 minutes ago, don't worry. If you're in that type of industry, 0.1% is quite normal.
Grand. Okay, great. And then after conversion rate, what is the next metric you should be looking out for?
So I think ROAS, like on the paid side, so ROAS is absolutely a function of many items, very much so your industry, very much so the effectiveness of your ads, and so on and so on. Now, usually we see like pretty much across the board, 4-to-1 ROAS is the norm for guys. Again, this is a massive broad stroke to paint everyone with, but this is typically like it's quite accurate. This actually, if I look across all the different industries we run, etc., 4-to-1 is not shooting the lights out. It's not a dog show. It's kind of average. So if you're smashing it higher than that, great. If you're way lower than that, it's probably unlikely that it's profitable, your ads. So yeah, I think that's an important number.
Awesome. Awesome. Return on ad spend. Do we go into profit on ad spend as well, or is that a bit too niche?
I think it's a bit too niche for this. I think that it's very specific and bespoke depending on the client. I think, yeah, for this, it's probably a bit too niche. I think let's talk a bit
Sure.
about your favorite and my favorite topic, emails, etc.
Yeah. What obviously we've spoken when we had BIMS on 15 to 20% of the revenue you generate online should be coming from event-based mailers, our Klaviyo and so on and so forth. What
Correct.
other I'm kind of thinking we should even just link to the episode with Bimps here because we go into all of those little details on email and it will be in the little report down below. I've got a lot of work to do. So email, what else on, obviously there's Carter
I think the
Banditers,
other,
there's,
yeah, I think
yeah,
the other leading benchmarks to have a look at are probably you want to look at click-through rate, both
yeah,
on social and Google. Um, Again, the end goal is for revenue to translate, but if your revenue is not translating how you want it to be, you could probably go higher up in the metric funnel and look at click-through rate. I'd probably say Google across the board for shopping campaigns, you're probably anywhere from 3 to 10%, or should be at 3 to 10%. And social, if you're around the 1% market click-through rate, that's probably cool. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great. And
Maybe
now
our
the most
last. You go ahead.
and our probably our most controversial topic of them all, organic content, whether it should exist or not,
Yes.
and what you should be ranking for. Let's dive in first. Organic content, just organic content that you're putting out, blog articles. What should your conversion? Obviously, it's not intended as a conversion optimizer, or it's not intended for conversion. It's more to serve the public. It's to serve your clients, to inform them and educate them. What should your is there even a conversion rate that you'd say for your blogs and your
So I think
articles?
let's talk about organic as well. We'll talk about blogs, and then we'll
Okay,
talk about actual social organic. So
sure.
blogs, I think the important part about blogs that how do you judge a blog? Right, a blog has the wrong connotation in general. So that would be our SEO benchmarking part, etc.
Yeah,
But the purpose of a blog is not to get a readership, is not to have people follow the series and wait for the next blog to be released. The purpose of a blog is it's intended as an entry point. So every blog should be measured against the traffic which it brings in, which then can be measured against the final measurement on your website. So let's say it's an e-commerce site, should be the sales that actually that blog brings in. And there's an amazing feeling to be had when one measures blog traffic to the actual final purchase, and you can actually get the when you can actually credit a blog for the revenue for a certain revenue, it almost vindicates blogging efforts. So I would say judge a blog initially by traffic, followed by revenue. It's way too random to assign a number to that. So I think let's move on from
yeah,
that. The items we can assign a number to, and Settle is the master of this. I'm still very much in his wake and learning and pretty much copying what he's doing, but is in social content. So we'll speak a little bit about TikTok, but I'll start with YouTube. You can kind of cover the TikTok side, Settle.
sure.
But YouTube is a mad platform, particularly YouTube Shorts. And YouTube Shorts gives you the ability to probably to go viral easier than any other platform there is. I don't know if you agree with that, Syte, but that's what I would say.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I'm going
depending.
to say. You
Yeah,
can argue afterwards. But what it typically does, so Shorts gives you amazing traction almost instantly, where YouTube posting or YouTube videos give you almost no traction, right? So let's just talk about Shorts for a second. A decent, sorry, a short which is actually unsuccessful, which I used to think was successful, is a short that gets you 200 to 500 views. And that's actually what I've seen is YouTube almost testing your content against an audience. And if it's not actually engaging well with that audience, it will then throttle your views and your short will land up at getting, as I said, 200 or 500 views, somewhere in between there. If it's successful, then you can break out that 500 view count. I'm still trying, but Seth has done it many times.
yeah,
So I
definitely.
think that's how one should judge their
Yeah.
shorts. Give us some thoughts on TikTok.
Yeah, so even going back to short, I think all of them are kind of each platform has its own caveats and its own way that the algorithm works and that it wants to prioritize content, but they all kind of work in a similar way. And this is kind of like I don't know if everyone's know, or I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock at this point if you don't know who Mr. Beast is, and he's done this incredibly well. Is he's studied the platforms to such a point that he knows exactly if the content's going to be or perform well or not, and those timeframes. Like within the first 3 milliseconds, even you have to grab someone's attention with short form content, and all of these platforms then reward you thereafter. So grab the person's attention in the first 3 seconds, and then the second piece that most people forget about, which you really need to focus on, is the engagement rate throughout the entire video. How many people actually make it to the end? That's what these platforms are prioritizing more and more now. Like even TikTok, I think you can go almost up to 10 minutes or even longer. I think you can go up to an hour's piece of content on TikTok now, which is kind of crazy. We should actually test posting our whole podcast on TikTok, just a side note.
All right,
But
let's see. 10,000 views.
yeah, but ultimately you need to be looking at in the two. Obviously, your 3 seconds, how many people are staying for that, and that initial retention rate, and then your overall retention throughout your whole video. And I think it should be at least, just thinking now, if you're generating at least at the end of your video, if you've got 30% of the people that are still watching, the platform is generally going to reward you very well. And people, I can kind of hack this by creating really short videos that are only 3 seconds. And I've done this, and some of my videos went viral because of that. Well, not really viral, but kind of viral in my little content journey. But yeah,
Yes.
so lots of different ones, kind of difficult to give you exact metrics, and some people go out there and go on and on about these exact metrics, but I think the ultimate thing to come back to when it comes to organic is, are you proud of the work that you're putting out? Is it bringing you joy as organic, and are you enjoying the process of creating? As a business owner, if you're doing it by yourself or if you're hiring a marketing agency, then they can really dive into the analytics. But just being consistent and posting each day or like consecutively, I think then you'll see results with organic. It's a long game, and it takes time for someone to enjoy watching your content, enjoy engaging with you, feeling like you're having a conversation, and then you develop that relationship, and then they will watch the whole video. So there is ways of like hacking it where we can go into those data, but I think just form a genuine relationship. It's going to take longer, but ultimately it's going to give you better results.
Let's talk quickly about TikTok as our final segment. So this is what I've
Sure,
seen in TikTok. TikTok was, I would say, the OG of short form content and the OG of giving people the ability to go viral without paid, without spend behind it.
sure,
And what I saw is um, when you hack TikTok and jumped on the right trend with the right video that had, just like any shorts, the right engagement. I've seen crazy accounts in the most boring of industries that we've run hit over a million views. So I think this is my view on it. You're doing well if you got 10K plus views on a video. You're doing really well if you got a million plus views on a video, all organic. I'm talking about obviously. Anything less than that, you could do better. What do you think?
agreed. But I think again, you need to, just like we were talking about the blogs earlier, you have to grade it on what it's bringing in at the end of the day. Is it bringing in sales? Is it bringing in leads? Is it bringing in revenue? Otherwise, it's a lost cause. Like, you could be the greatest content creator, but then you're reaching the complete wrong target audience that are there for your video because it's a fun video to watch. But if it's not bringing any transactional value at the end, honestly, like, sure, it's great and a brand publicity, but that's what I'd rate that on. I think it's important to look at, and it's great for publicity and awareness and all these wonderful things. But again, sales, sales, sales. That should, as an e-commerce owner, that should be the only thing you care about, your bottom line.
Got it. So, final point is if your brand stuff didn't make revenue, you're below benchmark. Thank
Yeah,
you, Sepala.
exactly. If it didn't contribute to one sale, it might as well not exist.
Cool.
Grand.
That's the game, Sepala.
That's the game. To end things off, remember, these are just benchmarks, just to guide you on what you can improve, and you should only use them to really focus on the areas that you aren't, or that you're really in the bad, and uh, reward yourself and give yourself a round of applause if you are in the good on them. So, as I said earlier, don't let it be the thief of your joy, but you could always make improvements in some areas. Everyone can. That's just the nature of it. And yeah, I'll catch you next week, every Thursday.